Let's run things back. It's time to open the black book. Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to another glorious edition of the Fantasy Black Book.
Black.
Right here on inthisleague.com. It is me, it is the Scott Bogman, it is the Welsh, and it's you, and we are talking football. That's right, because football is what we talk about in the summertime nowadays because, well, we used to have baseball. Maybe we'll get baseball back after this recording.
Football actually wants to do football.
It's true.
Baseball doesn't want a baseball.
Yeah, football definitely wants the football harder. I don't know if Drew Brees in the locker room, they want a football with him right now. We'll see how that all works out.
As long as you don't kneel for Drew Brees, he's good to go to play footy.
Yeah, then he'll play. Then he'll play for you. But look, here we are, and we're talking more football. And obviously, you know, as baseball news will trickle in next week, we will get to that as well. We are always full service here in the Black Book. But at the same time, we got to have some fun. And plus, we got a football book out there right now, which, by the way, boys and girls, is #1 in new releases in football books on Amazon. Not fantasy sports. Oh, no.
Is that
Scott
big?
Bogman.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's
huge. Beating
so
James
big.
Connor's book. Yeah.
It's beating James Connor's book. James Connor is like this. He's like, did you see that? He's like flexing his giant muscle over there. He's got his muscle, and then we're ahead of that muscle. Connor strong.
So,
and
the official quote is the Black Book beats cancer. That's the official.
I don't know if that's the marketing strategy we want to go with, but
I think it's pretty solid. I think it's actually pretty good.
You think it's good? All right, we'll go with it. If
one.
Welsh thinks it's good, we'll go with it. But yes, well, look, James Conner, obviously a very inspirational fellow. It's very nice to be, you know, kind of having a shared space there. But look, we've hit #1 in football books before, but never in June. Usually that's saved for August and the peak of draft season. So Bogman, I really feel like, you know, most of this is just your credit. Like you should be taking the victory.
You know what, Joe? I also think most of it's my credit. So you're welcome. And I hope that everyone enjoys my 76-page rookie chapter and 38-page IDP chapter. I hope you guys all enjoy it. But I mean, yeah, it's been awesome, man.
Bogman's really excited for his bonus. He's excited for the bonuses that are coming. It's happening.
Well, it's funny because I do bonus them out when we so Bogman knows this, that when we hit our goal in sales, I bonus out, and even though Bogman doesn't do Twitter much, like I
retweet a lot.
You do. You're a good retweeter. That's what I love about you. But look, I want to thank everybody who's been out there getting the book. And for those of you who listen to the podcast and don't know, there's a video version right now. So if you head over to the Patreon page at ITL, you can watch this podcast. That's right.
No, actually, Joe, you got
the YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's the cool thing.
That's
There's a couple things with video here in this.
Well, take us through it, Welsh.
Yeah. On the Thursday In This League Fantasy Baseball show, we have been doing video, which is only for Patreon. We've even done a couple football with the mocks, all the football mocks that we do for the In This League Fantasy Football podcast, also on Patreon. But for maybe a limited time, we're not 100% sure. But for right now, you guys can catch the Fantasy Black Book on our YouTube channel, absolutely free, free 99. I believe I drop it on Wednesday morning. So this episode always drops on Tuesday now. That's been our new schedule. And the video drops on Wednesday mornings, youtube.com/inthisleague. You can watch all of our mugs. You can watch the beginning. Great beginning to the show because I mimicked everything Joe Pisapia said during the open, and nobody knows that we did that, but Bogman was laughing, and I was just mouthing everything that Joe was saying. So you get all those really great tidbits, like Scott's cat that's in the camera shot right now.
Yeah.
Like
he's right now. He's just petting his pussy right now.
Yeah,
that's what he's doing. He's Welsh is going on talking about people how to subscribe to the YouTube channel over at In This League. Yep. So that's what we got to do this week.
Well, that's what gets me going,
for everybody.
Joe. Is whenever the Welsh talks about In This League, that's what gets me going.
That's what Bogman plans to do in his OnlyFans. He's just going to be just petting that thing.
Petting cats.
Well,
this is my OnlyFans right here.
5 tokens, and I'll get in the ear.
Well, I know that the IDP people absolutely love Bogman's section there. So, and the Dynasty people too. Like I've already heard really positive things. And that's what I expect. And we're also part of the cheat sheets or the IDP guys. Nobody goes deeper into all that stuff in the Black Book. That's why we're #1, damn it. But we're going to have some of those Black Book guests on here as we continue doing this over on StreamYard. So if you want to watch us while you're listening, or instead of just listening or whatever, you can even put us on your big giant TV and sling it over there. Go to In This League, the YouTube channel. And look, you got your black book right there. Boom, on your TV, boom, on your phone, boom, on your tablet, boom. Wherever you need the black book, you got the black book. Hey, how you doing? So let's do a little fun here. We were talking quarterbacks last time. And again, it's a little early to get too much into fantasy football in terms of best ball stuff. We're going to talk about that as we go. But we had a lot of fun last week with the quarterback props.
It's not too early for best ball, Joe.
It's not too early for best ball. I said we're going to talk a little bit.
Have you gotten into any best balls yet?
I haven't. I plan actually next week, now that the book is out, now that the schedule has died down, I actually was like, okay, now I'm going to start doing a couple of these. But we're doing a segment on the TV on Sports Grid today that I put in there for best ball. I'm going to bring that over here because I want to get your take on these wide receivers and some other guys that are values of best ball. But I want to hit these player props because I feel like this is kind of a crossover thing where it's like we do the wagering, we do the fantasy, we kind of have the discussion at the same time, which I thought was really fun. So we're going to do that today with some of the running back props out there on FanDuel. And it was funny because last week we kept saying these are the props on FanDuel, and every time Chris kept saying DraftKings.
I think I even tagged DraftKings in the tweet.
You did. And I kept thinking, do they have some kind of deal with DraftKings I don't know about?
We definitely do.
Actually, fun fact, the very, very, very first thing in this league ever did as far as financial deals was DraftKings. We actually had got whatever type of deal. We had an account person and everything. Mm-hmm. This was year one, 2014 or maybe 15, but we cut a deal with DraftKings and then immediately cut a deal with FanDuel once they didn't do anything with us anymore. Can I point out too, I'd love to see the numbers on this, but I don't know if you guys saw, obviously no sports or barely anything that's been going on, and gambling has been put to a halt, even though I think Vegas just reopened up. But even in all of this, I think I saw the Colorado Sportsbook still put up like $25 million in bets last month, which is absolutely absurd. I think
it was their first month open too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and if you think about it, I pay attention to stocks and stuff. Places like Wynn and I'm forgetting the other one now. MGM and stuff. Everybody's been popping off, and people have been saying, hey, Penn is another one. People have been saying, gambling stocks, kind of the way to go. I would love to know what the numbers look like on prop bets like this, because when people were missing out on everything they had, any sports, I gotta imagine people have been digging in more and more and more, just trying to pass the time for some fun, looking into props like we're going to talk about. And I feel like this is going to be the most highly bet propped year in maybe ever, at least that's illegal, not counting all the illegal years of sports, sports book betting and stuff like this. But I think it's really relevant to what we're talking about, because I feel like we are going to astronomically burst through the roof on people just placing random little prop bets on guys like Alvin Kamara because they're bored and it's something to do.
Yeah. Well, somebody just put $1 million on UFC this past weekend.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, somebody put $1 million bet on the favorite just to win like 100,000.
No, I'm just saying, why did they do that?
I have no idea why anyone would do that. I mean, because they got $1 million and they're bored.
Right, exactly. And look, the worst part is the odds. Like they basically wagered $1 million, I think, to win 100,000 or 200,000 or something like that. So that's a lot.
I mean, 100,000 is a nice pull, but not when you're putting up $1 million. A guy slips and steps into a punch instead of
it was in the women's fight,
and it's all over for you.
It was actually in the women's fight.
I thought you were saying, dude, my brain. I heard you say USC. You said UFC with Amanda Nunes. You're talking about the Amanda Nunes. I heard
UFC.
I heard USC, and I was like,
I got $1 million on Keaton Slovis to win the Heisman.
What do I not know about?
It's because he went to Desert Mountain High School. That's why.
Do I not? Well, that was what I was saying. Like, why are the USC become like the #1 contender? What happened? Yeah, I heard about that. Amanda Nunes has $100 million to win like $100,000 this past week.
Yeah, something like that. So. Yeah, it's absurd, but he won. So I guess that's what happens. By the way, before
you win. So
that's right. Before we jump into these running backs here and these props, I just want to put this out there. I did a little thing. You know how I like to sometimes do the Twitter poll once in a while here for the show. Yeah. So I did the Twitter poll for the show, and I asked a question because I wanted to see how much difference a year can make in a question. So the question was, what quarterback do you feel more comfortable with going into fantasy in 2020 from New York? Is it Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold? Right now, after we're up to 300 votes.
Can I guess the percentage?
Sure. Guess the percentage.
78% Daniel Jones.
Close. 68 right now. It's not quite as high. Yeah, but it's 68-32 right now. And just isn't that stunning, Bogman? I wanted to kind of throw that out there because you and I were one of the few people like on an island last year going, hey, this kid's not so bad. Why are we crapping all over this guy so much?
Yeah,
and
man.
now here we are a year later. It's 2-1 basically of how people feel more comfortable with Daniel Jones going into the season than Sam Darnold. Isn't that wild?
Well, part of it is not only Daniel Jones' success from last year, but I think part of it is what we saw as far as roster construction goes for the Jets. You know, Sam Darnold wasn't
and
bad
for the
last
Giants,
year.
in all fairness, and for the Giants. I thought the Giants had a good draft this year, but go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? That's also true. But it was, you know, everyone has seen the stat floated out that Daniel Jones took 0 snaps with Shepard, Tate, Saquon, and Ingram together. He didn't get 1 snap with all 4 of those guys last year. So he's going to get all those guys back, you know, unless an injury happens in the preseason or whatever. And Sam Darnold lost Robbie Anderson. You know, they brought in Brashad Perriman, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it 2 years in a row. They drafted Denzel Mims, but he's a rookie. So, you know, Crowder and Bell are still going to be the guys that get the most receptions on that team.
Did you say what was the result from last year?
Well, no, it was like 90 something.
Yeah, Darnold.
Yeah. Yeah. Just what a difference the year makes. And I always love that because perspective changes so much. Yet last year, Bogman and I were steadfast about, look, you know,
I would have taken Darnold last year too.
But I would have taken Darnold last year.
Eli, you know, but Eli was still there.
The indictment on Daniel Jones is the worst draft pick ever. He's the ruination of the Giants organization. There was so much hate and vitriol going towards Daniel Jones and that pick and Gettleman for making that pick that it's just stunning to look a year later how, you know, a year in the NFL, how many dog years? I don't know, but it's amazing how different it changes the perspective.
Yeah, but I mean, it was getting to see Daniel Jones perform was kind of the big key. Like I would look at that question and I feel like I might've responded the same way where I would have just been like, bleh! Like when I heard either one of those guys, because I
USC,
imagine,
what is that? OJ Simpson? What?
Yeah, but it's USC. So, I just can't imagine being that confident and comfortable with Sam Darnold last year. So I would have hated the question overall, but Daniel Jones looked like such a big question mark, but they both had, I don't know. That's weird if it was 90%. That's a weird question overall, but Daniel Jones.
But at the time too, Sam Darnold also had Le'Veon Bell at that time too. And it was all it's a year off from Le'Veon Bell. And now he's got Le'Veon Bell and he's, you know, it's just you. Well, yeah, look, exactly.
But he wasn't starting last
exactly.
Year, too.
Saquon Barkley. He wasn't. But it's just, it's amazing. Like I said, it's just how fast a year can change. I mean, the takes on things like that. And like I said, last year, there was so much negativity surrounding that Giants pick among Giant fans. I remember Jake Seeley crying and moaning to me on a show about, Daniel Jones. I'm like, I don't know, man. I kind of watched the tape on him and I thought he's got some moments. He's not Steve Young. But
well, he really impressed.
I don't think he's nearly as bad as you're making him out to be.
Like taking out of out of the pocket. Mobile. Yeah, it was Danny Runs instead of Danny Dimes for a couple weeks there.
I think he's going to be a very useful
game.
Yeah, it was. I think he's going to be a very useful Superflex quarterback this year, and I think I'm going to own a lot of shares based on that. So let's see if we're going to own some shares on these running backs based on these props. So we're going to take them one by one here, and let's start with one of the most polarizing guys out there. Let's start with Alvin Kamara. So here you go. This is season-long rushing and receiving. So we're talking all-purpose yards for Alvin Kamara. The number, boys and girls, is set at 1524.5. So with that being the number, Welsh, we'll start with you. This is a very achievable number for Alvin Kamara, 1524.5. Can he reach this? Would you go over, under, or would you stay away from this number?
1524.
So basically you're looking at like 700 rushing yards, 800 receiving yards. That's about gets you there.
Yeah, and he hit this in the 2 previous years. I'm looking 1554 in 2017 and 1592 in 2018. Your biggest difference is maybe the most incredible stat right now. We always focus on like stupid Chris Davis and his 40 whatever homers. 81 catches for 3 straight years. 81, 81, 81 for Alvin Kamara is just astonishing to look at. I think it's very, very achievable. He did it in the previous, 2 years. A little bit. We had the the positive touchdown regression we talk about with Alvin Kamara. He's a big point of the offense. I don't see why it's not obtainable. I would say though that it toes the line. So if I come back to what I said last week, where it's, am I putting a G down or whatever it is?
No, I think that's what we do. We hold ourselves accountable. If we wouldn't put $1,000 on it, then you stay away from it. Like you either got to love this or you don't. And by the way, speaking of those reception numbers being so steady, the yards per reception are not. They have gone down 3 straight years from 10.2 to 8.8 to 6.6 last year. So that's troubling. And I think that's why you're going to get some action here on the under, because people are going to see that as a trend and worry and say, well, maybe Kamara was kind of a flash in the pan that first year when Ingram was there and they were just kind of running amok. But would you put the grand on this Alvin Kamara number 1524?
I'm going to say it's very obtainable for him, but I would not put the grand down. I think it's
I wouldn't either.
There is too low variance here to deal with it. Like I said, 1554 and 1592. The previous 2 seasons, when you look at those, 1330 last year in total. So it's way too close. I don't see the upside in taking it whatsoever. So I'd slap that under on Kamara.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. I would either slap the under or stay away from this one personally. How about you there, Bogman? What about you? How do you feel about this all-purpose number?
Do it.
I would take the under on this one too. I'm not going to go over. Like the Welsh said, this number is just too close to what he's probably going to do. Where if he has one bad game, tweaks an ankle, misses a week, anything like that, he's not going to hit that number. So it's too close for my comfort. So there's no way I would take it.
And he did play 16 games last year too. Let's not forget
he
that.
played banged up and probably
he did, and that's the whole thing. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it's like he played all 16, but he wasn't healthy for all 16. We know that, but
Right.
and again,
why do I see him only playing 14?
I'm looking. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. No, you're right. I had already moved on to the next night. He played 14 last year. My apologies. I had already moved on to the next
and
player.
started 9 because he was still banged up. Right.
Yeah.
So, like he can definitely hit that total. It's not out of the realm of possibility for him at all. He's done it twice before of his 3 years. So I like that number for him. But like I said, tweak an ankle, play banged up 2 or 3 weeks, and you're just not hitting that. So there's no way I'd put money down on it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this much too: that yards per reception trend 2 years in a row going downwards. I don't care for that. I don't like that at all. And it's one of these things that makes Kamara, like, I feel like I'm going to be sitting there in some drafts with like him and Mixon and Henry. And I'm going to probably go for a lot more Mixon and Henry shares than I will Kamara.
I'm still taking Kamara there. I think that Manny's going to open up a little bit more underneath. So maybe
I know we disagree on this, but like I get why. Like I get the ceiling of Kamara is very exciting, and that Saints team is loaded.
He needs those scores back. He's going to get
well. I know. That's why I like old Derrick Henry. Because old man Henry gets that ball and runs it into the end zone a whole lot. Let's talk about another guy too. This guy plays all 16 games. This is the guy I was looking at when I said all 16 was Christian McCaffrey. So I'd say he's pretty good the last couple of years. He's been all right. He's new.
Way to go out on a limb. Thanks.
I'm going to go out on a limb. He's pretty good. But here's the number for all-purpose yards for Christian McCaffrey from FanDuel. The number to beat is 1974.5. So 1,974.5. I mean, the pace the last couple of years is just, it's unbelievable. He's been so good. Back-to-back seasons, just outstanding. Now, I think Carolina is going to have a long, rough season. They have a lot of youth on that defense. New quarterback, new coach. There's a lot of new stuff here. I don't know. This number kind of scares me off. I'm definitely not going over. I can tell you that much. I think there's only one bet. It's either the under or stay away on this one, too, for me. So, Bogman, you are the CMC whisperer. Tell us and whisper in our ears what you think of McCaffrey this year.
Over.
Yeah.
Over for CMC. Come on.
He's taking the over. Look, unbelievable.
Almost 2,400 yards last year. So even with a little regression, and by the way, they were garbage last year. I mean, Cam Newton played 5 games, and then it was all Kyle Allen after that. So in a bad year, they were bad. Obviously, I think everybody thinks that CMC is going to get a little bit taken off because it just makes sense for his career moving forward, especially in a year where we don't think they're going to contend. So I think it's going to be really close, but I would take the over on this number. CMC is pretty incredible.
What was the exact number again? 19 what?
1974 and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a notch above what he did in 18, where he was 1965.
Well, this is what Vegas does. Vegas basically takes last year and the year before, and they give you the average and say, "Go for it. What do you want to do?"
By that standard, though, the over should have been set around 2100 because that would have been about the average between the two. So when you were getting set, I was like, "Here we go. It's going to be like 2085 or 2100." So to get under 2000 after he put up 2,392 yards last year, even if you take off, I think yards per touch, he's averaged over 5.5 since he's been in the league. He was 5.9 last year. Even if you just shave off 10% of that and he gets a little over what he did in 2018, it'd be about 360 touches. You're not going to lose 300 yards off of those 40 touches. Guess what would the math be? That'd be about 200 yards, 5.9 yards a touch, 40. It'd be about 200 yards. So you would still hit the over, even if you cut off 10% on him. And I don't know if they're any worse for the wear than they were last season. So I actually would feel pretty comfortable actually hitting the over on this with what he's done in the offense and taking off and shaving off that 10%, because 200 yards would still get him at 2192. So I'm going to tap the over.
I think I'm going to stay away from this one. I know why you guys are taking the over, and it makes a lot of sense. I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie. I
want to know what Nate Hamilton would do.
I think
draft Devin Funchess.
Well, you know what? I haven't had one Devin Funchess conversation with him, but the other day I was on a show with somebody, and we were, of course, arguing with the Packers because somebody wanted to bring up the Packers to me, and they made a Devin Funchess comment, and I went, "No, do not do this. Do not go down this road. I'm telling you right now, let's not do this."
He can't quit Devin Funchess like I can't quit CMC.
He's not the only one. I think Tags? Somebody else I was having a conversation with brought up Funchess. I was like, "Nope. Don't you dare do that." Let's talk about Derrick Henry. Last year, he had 1,700 all-purpose yards. This year, the number is just 1,509 and a half. Now, I say just because this was basically just his rushing number. So I'm looking at this number, and I'm saying to myself, okay, well, the first 6 weeks of the season when Tannehill didn't play, this offense was, it was worse than bad. Whatever below bad, whatever abysmal below that, it was under there. So I think it's always asking a lot for guys to have back-to-back 1,500-yard rushing seasons or what have you, but we're just talking about all-purpose here. So even if he gets a 13 or 14, another couple hundred, this seems very attainable. I'm in the over. Bogman, you said over right away. So is that why you was just like boom automatic because you felt the same thing I did?
I think 1,500 yards for Derrick Henry is kind of a low total. So
as an AP number, so I thought this might be his rushing number, but it's not.
I think with any running back, any over is tough because of the volatility of the position. Of course.
How many guys are there like Henry who's by himself in the backfield?
There's just not many, and he's still bigger than most running back or most linebackers. So a linebacker comes to hit him, he's usually dishing out the punishment more than most of those linebackers. So I think this is kind of a low total, especially when you mention how bad they were with Mariota for the first half of the season, and you could just see as the season goes on, he gets more and more carries against those more and more tired defenses and just wears them out. So I think it's an easy over for Derrick Henry.
All right, well, let's go to you, Welsh. Are you going to join us here on the island, the three of us, on the easy over, or are you a little bit more skittish about this number of 1,509 and a half?
Yeah, I don't like it as much as you guys. I probably would stay away. I'm not saying it's not obtainable, but you guys alluded to this. This is a dude that this is all pretty relative to his rushing numbers. So he had a gaudy 1,540 last year, and he had 200 receiving yards, which was almost just a tad under what he had combined the previous 2 years. So my only problem with this one is he doesn't have a lot of room to mess around. He doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield if things change up. Yeah, he had this crazy year last year, but are we going to just throw back and say he's going to just repeat? Because if he misses a game, misses a couple games, you take that off. 303 carries. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being more conservative. It's actually a little bit surprising how locked in you guys are on this one. That this is easily obtainable. 1,500 yards is no joke for any running back, and I just don't love it. So I don't think it's not obtainable, of course, but I probably stay away from it because he just doesn't have the extracurricular stuff to get those yards from scrimmage up that I would like. So no thanks.
All right. Well, that's a fair assessment. That's why these are good conversations, because again, you can take these conversations and put them into your fantasy vein too, about your expectations about players, and make this, what you want to do here in terms of where you want to start certain guys over other guys in the first round, because these are all first round picks here. Let's go another first rounder, Ezekiel Elliott, another top 3 overall pick. His complete total AP yards over under is 1734.5. So Welsh, will start with you on this one. 1734.5. It seems very achievable for him, but this is kind of like you've got to hit that standard. They've got a ton of options there in Dallas right now, because now that you've got Cooper and Gallup, and now you've added Lamb, and you've got Jarwin there too. I don't expect too much out of him, but at the same time, that's still a lot of options. So Ezekiel Elliott is not the only show in town like he used to be. But that being said, is that a positive for this number or a negative in terms of the fact that there's just going to be more love for everybody else?
Yeah, I think the ball still runs through him regardless of the receiving weapons that they bring in there. Dak, and being more comfortable and moving into more of an elite territory, is really good. He's hit this number, Elliott has, 3 of the 4 seasons. The one season he didn't hit this number was in 2017, where he only played 10 games. I'm looking at the average. He might not have hit it, as I'm kind of trying to do the math. It's still no, you know what? I think he would have hit it if you would have added the 6 more games off of his 1,252 he did in 10. So I think he still would have got there. So I think this is a pretty easy over. I mean, I don't particularly love the numbers, but he has moved himself up into being a receiving option. I'm not so worried about the other options they have around taking away from him. 300 carries in 3 of his 4 seasons. Again, that 2017 season being the outlier. So way more comfortable about this than the Henry one. So give me the over.
All right, Boggs, how about you? Where are you at with Elliott?
Well, I mean, you mentioned all the weapons, but Dak is, I'm not going to say he's a real question mark right now, but I think we ignored franchise tag stuff before, and
that's not always worked out.
It hasn't worked out with Lev Bell, so I don't think Dak would sit, and I think they're going to get something done before the season starts. But that's a little dicey too, and if that's the case, Zeke's going to get the ball more than ever. So I just think this number, he's hit it, most of his years, and then the one year he wouldn't have hit it, he didn't hit it, is because he didn't play the 6 games. Right. So I think this is an easy over for
and if you did the math of 1252 in 10 games, split 1252 for 5 games, that would be about another.
Yeah, he's about there
600. Yeah, so I mean, he would have hit it. He would have hit it over just in 5 more games.
Well, he's so consistent. I think that's the thing. You look at him. You talked about the Kamara number before, and you see a downward trend, but with Elliott, it's always so steady, and you're like, okay, well, it feels about right. Yeah. It feels like if Dak's, this is why you don't make these wagers, by the way, early in the season. You wait until the last day you could possibly do these, and then you put it in there to make sure you have Dak Prescott. Because I'll say this, if Dak Prescott does hold out and the season starts, you could definitely go. I think maybe there's some room for the under on this number, because maybe that change a little bit.
I would say this, and what we were talking about before, of all the dudes, all the guys, or all the people betting being up more than ever and being bored. I would love to put some money on this one. Like this one, all the ones we talked about, I would love to put a couple shekels down on this one. And if it were legal where we are in Arizona, Bogman and I would have, because of missing sports and just looking for something. This is 100% one I would have put down on.
All right, well, let's do one more before we hit a break here. Let's do one more of the big first round guys. Let's do Saquon Barkley's overall total, 1794.5. Okay, another huge number here. I think very achievable. People will look at this number and they'll say, "Oh, he was hurt last year." Blah blah. I want to just ignore that. I'm sorry. Like, I have to take last year and just throw it away. And I'm gonna go over on this, because I believe Saquon Barkley is going to remind everybody of just why everybody was pushing themselves out of the way just to get a piece of him in early drafts 2 years ago when he was a rookie. And just quickly people forget. And I'm just not one of those people who forgets quickly. So for me, I'm going to go over on this one. Welsh, where are you going to go with Saquon Barkley? 1749.5 total all-purpose yards.
Yeah, I'm going to go over with it too. In 2018, when he played 16 games, he had 2,028 yards from scrimmage, and he averaged 5.8 yards per touch. Last year, in 13 games, he only had 1,400 yards from scrimmage, but he also averaged 5.4 yards per touch. So barely half of a yard less per touch. He's still the guy. He's still the guy that moves this offense. If they're going to have any success, the ball needs to go through him. The Giants are actually, to me, they're kind of like this broke-ass version of the Cowboys, maybe from a couple years ago. It's like the ball needs to move through Elliott. The ball needs to move through Barkley. They've got maybe less better wide receiver options, and Daniel Jones isn't, Dak Prescott by any means, but they're kind of just a broke-ass version, and Barkley is hands down the best player on this team. So, yeah, I think whether they're good or bad, it needs to continue going. The only question would be the health with him, but it is obtainable, so I would hit the over.
Yeah, I think everybody in Vegas wants you to bet the under because of the health, and I think that's a sucker bet. I think that's why they build hotels and those giant pillars in the casinos, is because people will just feed off it. Oh, he was hurt last year, so I'm definitely going the under. Bogman, where are you with Barkley?
Over. Come on, it's Barkley. Like Barkley is still it's CMC and Barkley as far as just who are the best in the league. Who is that? Is that Danny?
Is that Danny?
Okay.
Ric Flair. Woo!
Oh, that looked like
it looks like Danny.
It looked like Game of Thrones Daenerys.
That's why those pop things, they all look. That's why they're creepy, because they all look the same with different hair.
I see it now. Woo! I see it, but that definitely looked like the Dragon Queen.
I'm champion, Ric Flair.
You watch SmackDown,
Mr. Quick.
Daenerys Targaryen. that is and this
blonde
is why
hair.
Black Book show. This is why now the podcast is not enough, because you're missing these moments. That's
Bogman and I 100% thought the same thing, though. I just want to point
I know that's Rick. Right next to,
I got Rick behind me, and
but you pulled that Funko out. We both thought that was Daenerys from Game of Thrones.
I have an entire shelf of Game of Thrones Funko Pops that I will take a picture and show to. Yes, this is my one weakness. I don't know why. For a while there, I was just collecting Game of Thrones Funko Pops. I don't frivolously spend money. I'm not a collector of things. I was like, I just like these. These are cool.
See, this is the funny thing here. I've got, like, if people look in the video, if they're watching it, you can see some of my autographed baseballs. You can see I got some mini helmets. I actually have I got a Black Book over here. I should put in the shot. I got last year's Black Book that I was in. Joe is collecting Funkos, and Bogman's over here just collecting cats. So we all have different collections.
Oh, look, I got stuff.
I got some. Hey, Bogman's apartment. We're looking at Bogman's apartment. It's a tour.
Right.
Where's the magic house?
Oh, there you go. There we go.
Nowhere.
We got the rest of it. Where did Jake Seeley sleep?
Oh, where did he?
You should put a sign
right
up
over
for
there.
that. All right, so we're all over Saquon Barkley's, and this segment's all over. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other polarizing running backs, their all-purpose yards, and if we have time today, because again, we're already we always do this. We kibitz too much, and but that's why you tune into the Black Book. We'll see if we have time for the awards. If not, we'll do them next week, because we're not going anywhere, and neither are you. Stick around, more Black Book right after this.
Hopefully.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Fantasy Black Book. Let's talk a little Le'Veon Bell. Oh, this is a dangerous one. Here we go. Here's the number on Lev Bell's AP yards. Well, I don't know about that. It's pretty low. So 1299 and a half.
Oh, they want. My God, they want you
gotta take the over on that.
Hold on. Joe just said Vegas sucker bet. They want you to take on Barkley the under. You're telling me that Vegas doesn't want you to pound the over on that Lev Bell number? My God, they want you to pound the over on that. I can't do it. How could you do it? I can't trust the Jets. I mean, he makes sense. It makes sense for Lev Bell, of course. He had, 1250 last year? Jesus Christ, I want you to hit that. All right. How do you not hit the over on this? I don't know what to do with this one.
I don't know. I mean, it seems so obvious that I'm with you, Welch. There's something about it that doesn't feel right. Where it's like Vegas drove up with a white van with candy and said, "Come on in, let's go. I got all this candy in the backseat for you. Why don't you come out?" I like candy, okay. And then I get in the van.
It must be my birthday.
Lotion in the basket when all said and done. So I don't know, man.
Put the lotion in the effing basket.
1299 and a half does seem really low, guys. Like I don't know, man. And nobody's hating on the Jets more than me. Everybody knows that. But still, I mean, this just seems like even Adam Gase and the Jets, and as bad as that roster is, like 1299 and a half all-purpose yards, like that seems really achievable.
He's gonna hate. Like, but you guys know there's gonna be this article like in week 7. in the New York Times or Post or whatever the hell it is, and it's going to be like, Adam Gase, and it's going to be like throwing Le'Veon Bell in the garbage or something like that. Like it's going to be.
Well, Frank Gore is there now. He's got his old boyfriend Frank Gore with him, so
yeah. Oh, you know what? Under.
Oh, whatever.
Under.
I'm not gonna under because of Frank Gore.
Yep.
Dude, Lev Bell could be the leading receiver on this team, and no one would bat an eye. No one would bat an eye.
In fact, that's a bet I would take. That he
You're right. I think Crowder is still going to lead in receptions and yards.
Well, I would rather take that bet than this number because this number scares the hell out of me.
I don't know how it scares you. Like if Bell is healthy for 15 games, he hits this number. So
when's the last time he played 16 games?
2016, yeah, probably 2017.
2014. And that's the only time in his entire career he has played games. I'd like to point that out.
That is a good point. This is starting to feel more and more like you pound the under here because it just seems too good to be true. We're gonna have to revisit this later because let me tell you, this is
my most confident bet out of all.
Wow, really?
Most confident.
He doesn't play for the Steelers anymore, right? Like you just want to.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I watched him for a long time. He's a better receiver than half the guys they have on the field. Like I don't think people realize like Lev Bell could just switch to wide receiver and play it.
He might have to.
He might have to, honestly.
Jets,
like if Crowder gets hurt, they might maybe better off going with Gore and Pirine in the backfield and having Bell just play the slot.
Right.
But I don't know. Like he's too good of a weapon to not hit that amount of yards, even though Adam Gase hates him. So I know
even though he didn't do it last year.
Him.
Yeah, he's too good, but he didn't do it last year with Gase. But
but he didn't do it last year. It's more without Darnold. Remember, Darnold missed a bunch of games with mono. So, when you have Luke Falk back there, they're going to play 9-10 in the box every single snap.
And they did, and that's exactly what happened. All right, Miles Sanders, second-year campaign for Sanders. Pretty good second half for him in his rookie season. The number to beat is 14-24.5, according to FanDuel. So, Bogman, we'll start with you on this one. 14-24.5 for Miles Sanders with what we know about Doug Peterson. Or are you afraid of this number? Or do you think this is kind of, hey, this is pretty achievable? Give him 900 yards rushing or somewhere around that. Give another 5 or 6 receiving, and he's just obliterates this number potentially.
Yeah, I think, if I thought they were going into the season with what they have on the roster right now, then yeah, but they've been looking for another running back, and they like Boston Scott still. I really like Miles Sanders. I think he would crush those Lev Bell numbers from last year if he got all of the carries. I just don't know that he's going to get all the carries. So because of that and the nature of this offense, I think I would take the under.
I'm going to smash the over. I'm going to smash the over, man.
I'm with you.
I'm a big Miles Sanders guy. He actually averaged the exact same yards per touch, 5.8 as Barkley did in his rookie year, 5.4 last year for Barkley, 8.1 yards per air target. So 8.1 on per catch he was averaging last year. He was targeted 63 times in 16 games, but only started 11. He also had 179 carries for 800 yards. So, 1327 were his total yards. So what is my number again on him?
14.
Yeah,
he should blow it. He should blow it up. It's just that Peterson loves playing those multiple back systems. He likes throwing in Boston Scott every once in a while.
Well, I think that's why you won't see him get 1,000 yards rushing. But again, I'm looking for him. He's so efficient when he does touch the football. Like I want him to be in the 15 to 18 touch range because I think when you give him more than that, I think he's going to wear down a little bit. So actually, I think in some ways having that other guy for a guy like Miles Sanders is good. Whereas for some other running backs in the past, it just stops anybody from getting rhythm. I think Miles Sanders is good enough in the touches he has limited. They showed you last year, he can, makes big plays. He's able to break away in big runs. And I think that is actually something in a way will help him withstand a 16-game season.
I wouldn't be surprised if Miles Sanders put up like 1,800 total
I was about to say, give me 1,600. Lock me into 1,600 on him. So I'm going to smash the over.
I think at the very least he can get past this number. And that's I think this number is the low end. I really do.
It's nothing about Miles Sanders for me.
It's all about Doug Peterson. And that's absolutely fair. And look, it's why I didn't draft any shares. We sat here on the show. I said, I'm drafting 0 shares of Miles Sanders because he's going way too high and I can't do it. And what happened? everybody who drafted him got disenfranchised, and like I traded for him in every single league that I could, and it worked out very well. But that's how I feel about most rookie running backs. I'd rather not pay the premium. I'd rather just wait and then acquire them at some point in the season if they get off to slow starts, because that's typically what they do. I mean, it's very rare. Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, they are exceptions to the rule. They are not the rule. It doesn't happen like that all the time. Even nowadays, it still does not.
Joe Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's the next Barkley.
He's the next guy. He's the next. Well, but here's the thing. Like in the black book, when Ezekiel Elliott, he was, I think, our 10th overall pick that year. It was a very strong year, and I think we had him number 10 overall. A lot of publications even have him in the first round. Saquon Barkley, I want to say we had him at 7 or 6 overall, and people thought we were out of our mind. Well, we weren't, because he was awesome. So when we go balls to the wall for a running back, we are very careful, but we didn't go there with Helaire. We have him as a 3rd round grade because of what the pool looks like, and chances are you're not going to get him there. And I think you just have to understand that if you'd rather have Miles Sanders than Helaire, that's okay. Like, I think I'd rather have Miles Sanders than Helaire, and that's a choice that I'm willing to make. I'll wait and I'll go take him instead. Now, I prefer to look at these all-purpose and these yardage totals more than touchdowns, but let's fly through the touchdowns real fast. Let's just do quick over-unders, like just what your gut says. Le'Veon Bell, regular season, total rushing and receiving touchdowns. Okay, I don't usually like to do this, but whatever. We're talking about it. Let's do it. 6.5 total touchdowns for Le'Veon Bell.
God. That you have to go over on 6.5. It's such a low number.
This is where Frank Gore comes in and bothers the hell out of you. He only had one receiving touchdown.
That's why you bring in Frank Gore. He had 4. You say, oh, you got to smash the over. He had 4 last year with the Jets.
4. Smash the over. He had 4 total touchdowns last year. 4.
Luke Falk.
4.
Luke Falk didn't play all year. He played 2 games.
How much would you guys like to bet that Le'Veon Bell goes over 6? You tell me the number. I'll bet both of you.
I don't know. Save it, Bogman. Save it for our big boards bet. I'll take it.
Save it. All right. That's why you can go to the Patreon page to get those things. All right. Miles Sanders, 9.5 is the number for him. How do you feel about this one? Over, under, or stay away?
What was he last year? Miles Sanders had 3 rushing, 3 receiving.
Yeah, I stay away from this one. I think.
Yeah, I don't like this
too many red zone options. If Alshon gets healthy, both the tight ends,
also
all those guys.
Some of the looks of like that they have been digging around trying to get guys like Carlos Hyde. It almost seems exactly what we're talking about, like with the whole Frank or Le'Veon Bell. They just want a guy who can pound the ball in for, that's not Miles Sanders' game. So take touchdowns away from him. I hate that 9. Not to say that.
Well, look, Hyde's already off the board, so I mean they're running out of options fast.
Yeah,
and it's not Devonta Freeman. He's not that guy either. Saquon Barkley, this one I want to hammer. 11.5 total.
Over.
Yeah,
it's just so over. I can't even handle it.
Over it. I'm just so over it.
I mean, he might have 6 or 7 touchdowns of more than 50 yards.
He's gonna have one game where he has 3. So like right off the bat, like we're already a third of the way there.
He's gonna go.
Shut up, Welsh.
Alvin Kamara.
So much. I don't know why.
Total touchdowns for Alvin Kamara, 10.5.
Under.
I'm gonna go under 2, which is again. I keep looking. This is why I keep going. I say Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. Where Alvin Kamara falls behind for me.
It's just we've seen the New Orleans touchdowns, fluctuate.
I know, and all of these
Breeze
things
missed a bunch of games last year too.
Look,
though, so
I'm telling you right now, if I have Alvin Kamara, it's because somebody let him go way too long in a draft, and I just couldn't resist. But that's not going to happen. Christian McCaffrey, the number's 13.5 on the touchdowns. Over, under, or stay away.
You never asked me. I'm going to go over on Kamara, by the way.
I'm sorry about that. Over on Kamara. I'm going to go
McCaffrey.
13.5.
Over.
Yeah. Over.
It feels like an over too. I mean, this seems like a pretty low one. Ezekiel Elliott, 12.5.
Over.
All right, there you go. All right, and let's do the last one. Most regular season rushing yards. Here are the numbers and the names. So you tell me what you think of these guys and tell me which one you want to put money on. Derrick Henry to repeat is a plus 750. The next one on the board, Christian McCaffrey, is a plus 1,000. Ezekiel Elliott is the same. Nick Chubb at plus 13. Saquon's 13. Dalvin Cook plus 14. And then freaking Mostert is at plus 17. This is a guy, he had 15 carries one time. I mean, I'm sorry. Like,
but that playoff stretch, he was so good.
I know he was, but like we've seen that before. And then guys were like, oh, what happened? I'm like, do we have to like remind everybody about CJ Anderson? Come on, man. Like, to lead the league in rushing, you got to carry the ball more than 15 times a game, every game. Miles Sanders at plus 2,000 and Kamara's at 22. So realistically, when you look at this board, Henry to repeat at 750, I think is a pretty decent one, but Saquon at plus 1,300 is the one I would go for. Circle that one and put a big star.
I was thinking the exact same thing, except Saquon has such a dominant role in the passing game as well. Like the guy is like 100 target guy that they might do a lot of screen passes to, that I kind of actually lean Elliott. Like Barkley was my initial first one. Henry's
about that. One thing to remember about that is 2 years ago, they did not have the same receivers they have now. They have right now, I think, look, I know they had Odell, but at the time it was like Odell and then who the hell else? And it was a whole different thing. I think they have the ability now to spread the ball a little bit more in a better situation going into 2020 than they did going into even last year. So I would just throw that in there as a caveat, but continue on.
Yeah, I think those are the three. I think it's Barkley, Elliott. Henry's the safest because his prominent role is based on the rushing game. Elliott, I mean, obviously Elliott and Barkley are, but they just play a little bit more in the passing game. I think my confidence points would go Elliott, Henry, Barkley, and I'm not considering any of the other guys. I think that's how I would place my bets if I was.
I would consider one other one. What was the plus on Nick Chubb?
Well, they are in the show sheets. I do.
Yeah, that's right. I see it right here because I'm looking at it.
I'm not looking at it.
Plus 1,300.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm looking at the shade.
I would rather go Barkley. I would rather go Barkley over Chubb in that, but I think Chubb's a dark horse.
Oh, why? Why? I mean,
a lot of people tell you Dalvin Cook is the dark horse at plus 14.
I was thinking he was more of a dark horse for sure. But why would Chubb be in that when you got Kareem Hunt in there? I mean, the conversation is happening. Are the Browns going to have 2,000-yard rushers this season? Why do you think Chubb would lead the league in rushing yards?
I just like Chubb way more than I like Kareem Hunt. And I do like Kareem Hunt a decent amount. I just think Chubb is the better running back. And, he doesn't catch the ball too much. Most of his damage is going to be done on the ground. He can catch the ball. It's just that's Kareem Hunt's job in their offense. So he breaks off long runs too. So, just a couple, a little more wiggle room with that improved offensive line. I think he could really
like the long
he could lay off me. I'm starving. I feel like I'm about to pull out one of those.
Just doing my Valley Girl. Like, yeah, love the long ones.
Yeah.
I like the thick ones, but yeah, I mean, it's
the long Chubb ones are great.
THICC. But I think Chubb could be in there too.
All right, we're gonna hit one more break. When we come back, we're gonna do some award props as well. You're listening and watching the Black Book. We'll be right back after this.
Totes.
All right, here we go. It's time to do a little awards and see if we want to put some money down on some people. Let's start with NFL MVP, which clearly we all know is a quarterback award. Nobody else but quarterbacks win this award anymore. It's ridiculous. So let's talk about him. Patrick Mahomes, plus 380. Lamar Jackson's a plus 600. So is Russell Wilson. And I'll tell you what, if somehow if the 49ers falter and the Seahawks win that division, this could finally be the Russell Wilson MVP year. I'm just throwing that out there. There's been a lot of publicity low-key, hey, how come this guy never gets any votes? Hey, Russell Wilson's really great and everybody loves him. Why doesn't he have an MVP? You could already sense that media narrative just building. So I just want to throw that out there. Those are the top three guys. Let's take them. So you interested in the top three? Does it end and begin with these guys? Or do you think there's some other guys here later on we're going to talk about that you think is a better money bet here?
I like one other guy in that's outside of this top three, I would say is probably the money play here. But if I had to pick between these, Lamar's enticing. I get what you're saying about Russell Wilson, but no thanks, especially divisionally. 49ers beat him up, but I get your points. I think Lamar is enticing, but if I'm picking from the top three, Patrick Mahomes has got to be at the top of this list. Like Lamar for an MVP run would have to far surpass, I think, what he did last year. And I think that's a pretty tough gamble where Mahomes is such a volume passer that I like Mahomes in this one, but I do have one other dark horse. What about you?
All right. So Boggs, are these top three contenders for you?
I like the narrative that you said about Russell Wilson, especially with Carson coming into the season, off of his surgery, and Penny is going to be starting on the pup. and Hyde is the only other guy. They've talked about adding Antonio Brown to that receiving core, and Josh Gordon's going to apply for reinstatement. So now if you go into the season with, rough running backs and you have Antonio Brown, Lockett,
DK
Metcalf, and Gordon, that's insane. So for the money, I think I like Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I like the odds there. And this is the one I would actually bet early, because I think if Antonio Brown does end up there, or some other, like you said, some other weird wacky thing happens,
even Josh Gordon gets reinstated.
This number is going to go from 6 to 5.
Right.
I think it's gonna start incrementally changing.
What do you say?
I just said meh.
No, man. All right. Let's go with the other guys here. Meh. Dak Prescott. I like that we stopped the entire show just to make sure that we heard Welsh's meh. I just want to. That's what we do.
Dak was my dark horse one. Dak was the one that I think is
Dak at 12. Drew Brees at 16. Yeah, everybody loves him now. Carson Wentz at plus 17. Deshaun Watson at plus 17. Talk about a miracle. Tom Brady plus 18. And Aaron Rodgers at plus 2,300. Aaron Rodgers.
Vegas wants you to click Tom Brady, man. Boy, do they want people to click Tom Brady.
Hey, man, $100 win 1,800. I mean, why wouldn't you want to throw it? I mean, here's the thing. If they go out there and they win 13 games, I mean, who's to say he doesn't win it? I don't think they're going to, but they do.
I can see. I think you can.
Vegas is taking a lot of advantage of the Bucks situation. I can tell you already. There's so many Bucks numbers out there that are just begging you to like anybody with a brain has got to go under on all of the Bucks stuff this year. You just have to.
I think I could see the narrative where Deshaun Watson wins the award if they're like, if the Texans go something like 12-4 and he lost DeAndre Hopkins and everything looks worse for him this year and all that stuff. I think there could be a nice narrative leading Deshaun Watson in that case. So I would, I don't know that I would bet Deshaun Watson, but if I'm taking flyers on these guys, I think he's the guy I would take.
I would bet Mahomes, Wilson, or Prescott. Those are the three. And I mean, look, if you bet all three of them and Prescott ends up hitting, you already covered your bets and won.
Right.
So I mean, you could
probably
even
cover the rest of your stupid bets too.
I was like, maybe you take 100 and spread it around in the 100 each, a C note on all three guys and see what hits of those three, because I think those are the most likely ones. I actually like Welsh's dark horse there too with Dak Prescott. All right, AP comeback player of the year. Here you go. Ben Roethlisberger's plus 250, Rob Gronkowski plus 300, JJ Watt plus 55. Then as you go deeper, you got Cam Newton at 750, AJ Green at 9, Stafford at 9. Alex Smith would be the great story at plus 14, and Nick Foles and Andy Dalton are plus 14 too. So really, this feels like the Ben Roethlisberger award to lose, right?
It does, but the Steelers have a great defense now, so I feel like it's going to be less about Ben throwing the ball, more about the running game in Pittsburgh. So I would not bet Roethlisberger for this award. I think Matt Stafford at plus 900 is a really nice number. He was playing his best football in his career before he went out with that back injury. But also, Alex Smith takes one snap. They might just give this award to him. I mean,
that's the thing. It's like it's not enough for him to get back on the team. Like he's got to play well, I think, enough to get I get what you're saying.
AJ Green too.
AJ Green to me, the way you make money on this one is AJ Green and Matthew Stafford, one of those two guys. Because I do agree with you. The Roethlisberger one's kind of like, well, I'm not sure.
It's almost too obvious.
It's almost too obvious. But AJ Green and Stafford, especially because I think that Bengals offense is going to be perhaps more exciting than people realize. Welsh, where would you put a C note of your money on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Roethlisberger is the easy one. I completely agree. I knew as soon as I stared at this, Bogman was going to like the Stafford one, and you're not wrong about that one. Yeah. I think the only other one, like you guys said, that you can comfortably bet right now is AJ Green. Plus 900. That's a good payoff. If I'm betting my ranks, it would probably be Roethlisberger, Stafford, and then if I really wanted to go out on a limb, I would be a little bit tempted. I mean, I probably wouldn't put a lot on it, but I don't know, the Cam Newton one. Like if Cam were to get a gig, I feel like he would be somebody in the starter.
Media hates him. And these are media awards. That's my only. And the other thing for me is like the media loves JJ Watt, but I don't know if he could stay healthy for a full season ever. So like that's the only reason I think that's like lighting money on fire. Stafford and Green, 9-1 is a nice number right there. Like that's a pretty darn good return. Let's do the rookies. Obviously, offensive rookie of the year. Joe Burrow is the clear favorite, plus 220. Edwards-Helaire is at plus 500. Then Tua is at 750, and then Taylor Swift. All those guys are over 1,000. So
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Gonna shake it off.
Hey, look, I got a blank space, baby. So who's rookie?
Joe Burrow is probably going to be rookie of the
There
year.
you go. So
I can't. I wouldn't put money on anybody else. It would.
I don't think I would either. I don't think you can. I just don't think it's. You either put money on
quarterback that's going to start 16 games. I mean, that's it, it's almost automatic. As one of these other guys that just have to do something really incredible.
Well, I was like,
the
only other change, I mean, if you believe the fantasy narrative that's being shared out there, then Clyde Edwards-Helaire should be in the possibility. But I'd say another guy would be like a Tua, if Tua like came in week 3 and then gets the Dolphins to the playoffs, or in 14
He's
games.
Gonna play more than people realize. I keep telling. I'm going to stay on this.
I think Tua is an okay bet.
That's another bet. Like I want to see the over/under games played for Tua, because whatever it is, I'm probably going to go the over. The other guy that I would throw in here, just like, again, you're kind of just throwing a dart. I went back and did a little homework because we were talking about CeeDee Lamb on the TV show, and I was like, wow, Randall Cobb did have over 800 yards last year as that third guy, and CeeDee Lamb is way better than Randall Cobb.
Way better.
Yeah,
but maybe like CeeDee Lamb kind of sneaks in there. Like
that's not enough to take over a 16-game starting quarterback in Joe Burrow.
Probably not, which is why it's Burrow or bust. Now on the defense,
CeeDee Lamb would have to get like, double-digit touchdowns plus a decent amount of yards.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
No. I'm just saying that, if anyone else is going to win this but Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow is either going to have to throw a ton of picks, which I would love because he's a Bengal. But he would either have to throw a ton of picks, or Taylor or Edwards-Helaire would have to get, like they'd have to have like a, 1,200-yard rushing year with multiple touchdowns, which I just don't, asking rookies to do that is just too much, especially wideouts. I mean, Lamb and Judy both have the skill to do it, but there's just no way I'm putting any money down on those guys.
Yeah, it would take look, it would take something, but like I said, that's the one guy, because that offense is going to score a ton of points, that if there was an injury to an Amari Cooper, which is not an impossibility, if there was, if something happened with Michael Gallup, all of a sudden, if he gets elevated at all in that offense, but even if he doesn't, I think he's already has a pretty decent year ahead of him. Because you just look and say, okay, how much, we always like to do this, right? Got to be realistic. How much is there available in the offense? And you look at what Dak did and kind of pull back just a tad. There's still enough for him to be very successful. All right, NL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Is it just Chase Young at 250 or anybody else, Boggs? This is your award here.
I could see Isaiah Simmons getting it.
He's at plus 550 for those who want to know. And Patrick Queen's at plus 12.
And I think I would take Kenneth Murray over Patrick Queen.
Well, I like 21.
Yeah, that's the one I would bet. I would bet Kenneth Murray because he is going to get a chance to rack up so many tackles in LA. They really need a guy to wrap up and tackle there, and that is why
almost
they
like
moved
Darius
up.
Leonard kind of opportunity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Almost
that's
like
why they moved up in the first round. And look, dude, I hate to admit it because Kenneth Walker's OU guy, but he is fast. He is fast to the ball. So he's going to be a lot of fun to watch for the Chargers. So that's, if I'm putting money down, I think Chase Young, Chase Young gets double-digit sacks, he wins this award.
I still kind of like Isaiah Simmons. If you think about divisionally too, with what's going on, it's a run heavy with the 49ers and with potentially the Seahawks. That I don't know. I still like Simmons.
And you know what? For Simmons can make some plays on the ball too, and a lot of teams are going to have to play catch up and point for point with the Cardinals. So,
like, he can move across both sides. If the Seahawks want to divert from running and passing, you have a heavy 49ers run defense. Wherever the Rams are going to go on either side, he's not a guy that you take off the field. That's what's really interesting about him. So, like, I would divert to Bogman, who wrote the IDP stuff in the Fantasy Black Book, which you can get right now on Amazon if you go pick it up. I would divert to what he has to say, but Isaiah Simmons would be a player that, outside of Chase Young, which doesn't have a big payoff, I feel like Simmons provides the ceiling and floor for a nice bet of I think it's plus 550. So I like
Yeah,
These
but
guys will be fun to watch, man.
Even throw $50 on Kenneth Murray, that's a hell of a return.
Yeah,
20 plus 21. That's a little inside information right now, obviously, for those people, and that's why you listen to the Black Book, because how many fantasy podcasts are going to give you that kind of IDP stuff? Nobody. Maybe Gary Show. That's about it. But that's it. It's here and there. And that's why you come back for more. And speaking of which, there's only one thing left to do now before we head out, and that's the 2-minute drill. And it starts right now. And I didn't realize this. I missed this story recently. And
I was going to say, this is a little bit of an older story.
I didn't see this, so I can only assume this was that week that I didn't see you, Bogman, because apparently a team in South Korea in the soccer league was fined 100 million won, which is the equivalent of $81,000 basically, for using life-size sex dolls to fill the empty seats.
I took all my girls to Korea in the middle of COVID. It was so much fun.
I've been collecting autographs. Joe collects the Funkos, and Bogman's been collecting the sex dolls from Korea.
And he also has a Daenerys Targaryen, which is interesting.
Oh my god,
that's right. And a Ric Flair, actually, just to change it up. So.
I yelled Dracarys, at that time. But look, man, this if I could collect those, by the way, I would be in much better financial shape than I am.
We start a GoFundMe page for it.
One.
I'll tell you what, I will donate to that. If somebody in ITL starts that, I will donate.
Oh, hey, Joe, you should do like a donating day. Like one day you give to kids and one day you give sex dolls to Bogman. All proceeds of the Black Book.
We've done Toys for Tots every year. Why not do Toys for
how about
Tots?
Toys for Boggs? Right.
No,
Dolls for Boggs.
Dolls for Boggs. Right.
I just did it. Not Toys for Tots, Toys for Scots. It's perfect.
Toys for Scots.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I think you could buy like the Fleshlight factory instead of buying one real doll. Why wouldn't people just do that?
What's the
I
Fleshlight?
don't know, but that's pretty funny. So
I have no idea. 100 million sold and no one owns one.
I just think it's amazing that that's what they went to put the sex dolls out there. So MLB, get your stuff together. Look, there's plenty of sex dolls out there that would like to see you play baseball. So that'll do it for us right now. In the meantime, you can go check us out on Twitter at Bogman Sports, at Is It The Welsh, at Joe Pisapia.
Go to YouTube right now. Tomorrow actually, youtube.com/inthisleague, and you can watch these episodes and you can comment on it, get the views up, tell us that you like it. Go to youtube.com/inthisleague.
Subscribe to the show, comment on it, do all these things. Please, we are just begging for approval. That's what we need. We need your approval for everything. Totally. But seriously, look, we're trying to have some fun here and talk a little sports, and that's what we do on the Black Book. And in the meantime, go to Amazon and go check out your Fantasy Football Black Book 2020 for Kindle, for paperback, and get it today. And that's it. So that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Bogman and Welsh, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Bye. Go subscribe to the YouTube page.